Texas lawyer comments on the Karmelo Anthony case and compares it to another case that's similar. This video is before the conviction of Karmelo Anthony. It's when the defense rested before the conviction. Let's watch this. Since everybody wants to be lawyers online, let's watch this together.
I wanted to take a different twist to it than what a lot of creators are breaking down, because the case is obviously still ongoing. Karmelo Anthony, the prosecution just rested this last weekend on a Saturday. The judge required the jury to be there on a Saturday, and the defense now is going to start their case Monday, June 8th. The internet's a little bit divided, like, is this murder? Is this manslaughter? Is it self-defense? And Karmelo Anthony should be acquitted and not go to prison for the rest of his life for this. So internet's pretty divided, but I wanted to talk about a case that one of my followers brought up to me about, the Caysen Allison case. This was a case that happened in Texas as well. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and I want to talk to you about that. So what happened in the Caysen Allison case is on May 3rd, 2022, at Belton High School, an 18-year-old Caysen Allison and a fellow student, Jose Luis Ramirez Jr., became involved in a confrontation inside the school bathroom. Now, according to evidence presented at trial, Ramirez threw the first punch during the fight, and then Allison was carrying a knife and he stabbed Ramirez multiple times. Ramirez managed to leave the bathroom, but then collapsed in the hallway and later died from his injuries. So now the prosecution...
I'm just kind of confused. Whatever happened to just kids just fighting? Like, I'm not saying that I condone fighting at all, but back in the day, I'm 41, kids would just fight. Just use your hands. Like, a good old-fashioned fight doesn't hurt anyone. Like, so I'm confused with these kids bringing knives to school, bringing knives to track meets, bringing knives to... Are you that fearful of your life? Are you that fearful? You have adults, you have counselors, you got... Like, I think we need to start really talking to these kids. I just... It's mind-boggling.
Prosecution's theory in that case was Allison intentionally escalated a school fight into a deadly encounter by bringing and using a knife. They presented evidence that Allison had anger toward Ramirez before the incident, because supposedly Ramirez had been bullying him, and argued his actions were criminal. Now the defense argued self-defense. Their position was that Ramirez and his friends had been bullying and targeting Allison, and that Allison feared for his safety when confronted in the bathroom. The defense emphasized that Ramirez threw the first punch and Allison reacted in that moment. There's similarities to that, because to the Karmelo Anthony case, because there is evidence that Austin Metcalf pushed Karmelo Anthony first. In the Allison case, the jury did not convict him of murder. And the jury had actually several options, just like the Karmelo Anthony case. They had murder, manslaughter, criminal negligent homicide, and then not guilty. And after approximately 12 hours of deliberation, the jury rejected both the murder and the manslaughter, and they then convicted Allison of criminally negligent homicide.
So the lawyer gave him the maximum. I guess the jury was willing to give him 6 months to 2 years, but then the judge and the prosecution brought in the whole weapon charge, and they gave him an additional whatever that is to give him 10 years. Again, if bullying's involved, if being fearful for your life, I don't discredit that at all. But you gotta speak up. These kids, these parents, you gotta speak to your kids. You gotta speak up to. If you're feeling the type of way, if you gotta speak up. Sorry, I'm outside recording, so if you hear something, it is what it is. It's just, you gotta speak up, and I think these kids need outlets, need mentors, need people, confidants, especially that age, that 14 to 18 year old. I was there. I work with a lot of kids in that age. They just feel like they can't talk to their parents. They don't trust a lot. They need mentors. They need confidants, because this could be avoided. Both kids in that Allison case, they have issues. Kids don't have the skills to complete conflict resolution. Look, he got 10 years in prison for stabbing someone. He stabbed him 4 times. That's like some hate. You hate this person. Oof.
That verdict tells us that the jury apparently did not believe prosecutors proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Allison intended to kill Ramirez or acted with the level of recklessness required for manslaughter. So instead, they concluded that the cause of death through criminal negligence, a much lower mental state under Texas law. And he ended up getting sentenced to 10 years in prison. He got the maximum punishment. The judge, even though there was a super emotional sentencing, and he had teachers and people coming to on his behalf saying, give him basically mercy. The judge says, I'm giving you the maximum amount. You're getting 10 years in prison. Obviously, this case was super controversial because there was two camps. There was people that believed the sentence was fair. Allison did bring a knife to school. Romero's died from multiple stab wounds. A school fight should never become a homicide, right? And bringing a deadly weapon demonstrated awareness of risk. There was also others who believed that murder was never appropriate. Romero's reportedly threw the first punch. There were allegations of prior bullying. The confrontation happened quickly, and the jury rejection of murder suggests that they believed intent to kill was not proven.
All right, so this is the wrong channel if you come in here to see my opinion on this or that. I'm just trying to help. And my thing is, in what universe does a push deserve a stab or a punch deserve a stab? He threw the first punch, I get that, but does that mean that you have to stab him? It's still baffling to me. Again, it goes back to conflict resolution. It starts with the parents. It helps the school. If this was a known issue, it should be some type of level of mediation. The mentors. It just escalated to a point that one kid felt like he needed to bring a knife to school. The other kid felt like, and the other kid, Karmelo Anthony, track meet. These kids, it's just, where was the supervision? How's all these kids in the bathroom? It's a lot of questions that, a lot of things that could have been avoided. That's what I'm saying.
Proven. We know that in the Caysen Allison case that Jose Romero's threw the first punch. The Karmelo Anthony case, the problem, for this defense is that, at least so far, they had a ton of witnesses come to the stand that they testified that Karmelo Anthony was under another school's tent. He was asked to leave. He refused. And then he produced a knife after a relatively minor physical confrontation. I think that's the biggest difference. In the Caysen Allison case, it was actual punches. In the Karmelo Anthony case, from testimony, Austin pushed him. I do want to talk about some of the facts. I'm not here to lean one way or the other, but the size difference of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf was pretty dramatic. Karmelo Anthony was 5'9", 130 pounds. Austin Metcalf was 6'1", 240. Austin clearly had friends around him. Austin has a twin brother. There's been a real hard, the prosecution has wanted to keep the twin brother out of this, which I don't think really helps, because it looks like they're trying to hide the fact that there was brothers there, could possibly maybe put Karmelo Anthony in a state of fear. But a push obviously is not justification for a knife. I think that it's important to know, and the difference in the Caysen Allison case, or the Allison case, is that there's multiple stabs. He meant to do that. However, in this case, the Karmelo Anthony case, there was one stab. And not only that, there was a stab and then a walk away. He did not grab the knife to go out to do it again. It was just one single stab wound that unfortunately struck the heart. I just have to ask the question, maybe the elephant in the room, is that one person stabbed someone 4 times, the other one stabbed someone once. Again, not condoning either at all, but someone just has to explain to me and comment below, why do you think one got 10 years for a stabbing and a killing of a student, fellow peer, and the other one got 35 years? That's a 25-year difference. And they were both young, and they made both horrible choices, something I bet they're both in jail today wishing they can take back. I'm just confused. Where did the 25? Again, I want comments, and how, and also some thoughtful comments, not just this person's a killer, this person and that. Some thoughtful comments of how it could have been prevented, but also what's your thoughtful reason why it was a 25-year gap in the sentences between these two boys. If the jury believes that this was a split-second reaction during a confrontation, this could certainly weigh in getting a lesser offense than murder. The prosecution has obviously argued he brought a knife to a track meet. You're not supposed to. He displayed it during the confrontation. He intentionally thrust it in Austin's chest. The chest is an area containing vital organs. So Under Texas law, intent to kill can be inferred from using a deadly weapon in a manner capable of causing death. The state doesn't necessarily need a confession saying, I wanted him dead. So when you're looking at this, the defense obviously is coming back and saying self-defense. Austin pushed him first. Supposedly Austin was the one that was very angry that Karmelo Anthony was sitting under this tent. It had been raining. All the kids had tried to get out of the rain. One of the things that will be interesting is that there was one witness who was friends with Karmelo Anthony, who Karmelo was sitting with under the tent. The prosecution did not bring that to light very well. And we can know why. Because the prosecution doesn't want the jury to think that Karmelo had a reason to be there. From what we understand, he did. He claims he had a friend there and they were just there, getting out of the rain. Austin didn't like that. So that's what the defense is now going to do. Their goal is now going to prove that Austin initiated physical contact, that Anthony was scared, that this happened in seconds. He didn't intend to kill anyone, and he reacted recklessly, not intentionally. And by doing that, that steers this toward more of a manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide. To include that he voluntarily brought a deadly weapon into an environment where teenage conflicts are foreseeable, that can be powerful evidence against the defense. It's not against the law in Texas to carry a knife. You can't carry it on school property. That's one of the biggest things. But there's no security. There's nobody checking bags at these. You're not going through security. So my takeaway from this is it will be interesting to see how the defense frames this. But I do see a lot of similarities. And after hearing as much as I could about the prosecution's case, because we couldn't watch it live, it was all kind of reported from people that were in the courtroom, is that there's the similarities. And though self-defense, I think, is a weak attempt to get him completely acquitted, because, stabbing somebody when you were pushed probably doesn't equate. I do think the juror has this reasonable doubt of intent.
Amazing job by that attorney, because again, everybody was playing their attorney online and no one's attorney. But I just think it's sad. The most important thing is those are 4 kids, teenage kids, who either lost their life, 2 of them, and 2 of them were in jail. No place for kids, no place for them to spend some of their adult life, or most of their adult life in. It's sad. It's sad. There's no winners in any of the cases. Just trying to break it down. Again, have constructive conversations, how we can help these kids to be preventative before we ever get to this point. You guys, I have a coaching program that I'm doing to help kids. I include mentorship, peer mentorship, anger management, all this stuff. I do it in a unique way. Comment coach below if you're interested. Like, subscribe, follow, do all that good stuff. I'm out.